Okay, so we're just coming off of a card headlined by Robert Whittaker and Ikram Aliskerov. It's really crazy watching this now, thinking about Khamzat, because, yeah, Aliskerov got knocked out by him. And here is Robert Whittaker. He just basically earned himself a title shot off this, or at least a shot for a #1 contendership, and that could have been Khamzat. And of course, the issue is before the event, Khamzat got food poisoning, and to quote Dana White, he was violently ill and had to pull out of the fight. That's not even the first time this year he's had to deal with big health issues, by the way. And yeah, this all sucks, but it happens all the time, right? Plenty of fighters have injuries or illnesses that get in the way of a fight booking. Yeah, that's all true, but the difference here is, since his explosive, show-stealing performances that shot him to stardom, he's had 3 failed bookings with Leon, missed weight against Nate Diaz, so that was canceled and he ended up fighting Kevin Holland instead. He did end up finally fighting Usman last year, albeit on short notice, and here we are in 2024, and there is another fight that's had an issue, and in this case, totally canceled. Going back to 2020, when he fought 3 times in 2 months and easily became that year's biggest new star, I don't think anybody would have guessed that we'd be in this situation right now. I mean, yeah, he fought 3 times in 2020 alone and has only fought 4 times in the 4 years since. What the hell is going on here? I'm Jason from MMA On Point. A quick shout out to our Hall of Famers who help support this channel, and this is the most deflated UFC career of all time. And yeah, I understand some people are going to be upset at that title, but guys, it's true. Name one UFC star who's had such an explosive growth and wasn't able to capitalize on it for something other than a loss. Masvidal in 2019, he fought Usman for the belt twice. He also fought Nate Diaz too, and this all had huge pay-per-view sales. And of course, Nate Diaz himself had an explosion after the first Conor fight, and he capitalized on that with the rematch and countless other opportunities since then. He even took on Leon Edwards, which was basically going to give him a title shot if he won. And yeah, there have been guys like Roger Huerta over the years who lost on their way up and didn't really make it all the way. Khamzat's situation is entirely different from all that. Khamzat is still undefeated, and it feels like he should have fought for at least a title shot in 2 separate divisions by now. That's what the Whittaker fight was supposed to set up last night, and the Gilbert Burns fight was basically doing at welterweight a couple years ago. So let's talk about what's actually gotten in the way here. Most of us have had COVID over the last few years, and not be a huge deal for most healthy individuals, but clearly what happened to Khamzat was on another level. Way back in 2020, he was booked against Leon for the first time, and in that case, it wasn't just Chimaev who had to pull out due to COVID, but it was Leon too. Yeah, they somehow both got it at the same time. Again, most of us have had COVID, so we all thought this was just going to be a short delay with not too many consequences. The UFC clearly thought that as well because they tried to rebook him just 1 month later, but apparently he was still pretty fucked up from his corona symptoms, and yeah, he pulled out again. Surely this would be it though, right? Give it a couple months and rebook and they'd get this thing finalized, but man, again he pulled out for the same reason. Not too long after this was when we started to hear some of the news come out. Front Kick Online released a video the day after this 3rd Leon fight cancellation, and this was way worse than anybody would have thought.
He finished the training on Tuesday. He couldn't even walk up to his room. He didn't even have the energy to go up to his room. Fell asleep in the lobby. He started coughing, started feeling ill again, and we had to cancel the training. He complained that he had some chest pains after the training, so we're gonna check the heart as well. He even went with an ambulance to the hospital. And even when he was in the hospital, he called me when he called me, he thought he was going to die.
He got bronchitis. We had to put him on antibiotics for 10 days. And he's only human, man. There's nothing we can do that more than what we're doing.
So clearly with the bronchitis, this was developing into a lot more than just your run-of-the-mill COVID. By March, he went a step further, perhaps just due to all the pressure of the situation, and announced he was retiring. Of course, that didn't last very long, but it was just another way things appeared to be getting worse. Finally, we started to hear from him directly, though. In an interview with Brett Okamoto on ESPN, we finally got to hear about it straight from him.
It was like when I was in Sweden, start to feel me better. Then I feel like 1 week better, 1 week bad, I was still training when I was feeling bad also. I did my house surgery, I did the operation here. They took out some stuff, like I don't know how to explain in English. And now I feel much better.
But more importantly, he started to show that, yeah, he might be coming out of this whole thing soon.
Now just start to train with my team and find somebody to kill. Find somebody to kill.
It took a few more months, but finally in October of 2021, Khamzat was back and the excitement was off the charts.
And even yesterday, in 20 minutes, his stare down with Lee did 1 million views.
Of course, Khamzat would deliver in his performance as well, not only regaining his hype despite all the troubles over the previous year, but definitely growing it too. Not to mention putting together Luke's favorite post-fight speech moment of all time.
Everybody, I come here for everybody, kill everybody, I'm the champ, I'm the king, kill everybody. Ah!
And with his reputation of taking fights anywhere, anytime, any place, the assumption was that we'd see him pretty soon. While it did end up taking a few more months, what we got is probably his best opponent to date at the right time. You would want to say Usman, but that was last minute, a weight class up after he'd already lost the title. The difference in this fight with Burns was that it was meticulously planned on both ends. If you haven't seen this video from MMA Junkie detailing his preparation for that fight, you gotta see it. He was beyond ready for this one.
Round might be second, third round might be late on the first round, but the way I see it's gonna be a finish.
Boy, did that fight deliver. That was probably the best fight of 2022, and it was pretty much guaranteeing the man a title shot next. There was just one little tiny thing that happened though. So yeah, Khamzat was already booked against Nate Diaz just 1 month after Usman's shocking loss to Leon Edwards, but that head kick would mean an immediate rematch, so it'd be a while before Khamzat would be able to get himself into that welterweight title picture while that was being rebooked. And while the Nate Diaz fight was widely criticized because it was Diaz's last fight, he was 37, there was a bunch of issues with it, but despite all of that, the overall fan sentiment was that this was just pretty much a big name on his way to a title shot. And it had the bonus of keeping him busy while they were trying to rebook that Leon-Usman match. But man, did so much go wrong with this fight. There was this whole backstage situation that was released way too late after it all happened that canceled the press conference.
Yeah, this ain't gonna happen. I apologize, everybody. I am in very weird watershed. This has never happened in the history of this company. So, for everybody's safety, this is the right decision.
And if that whole situation wasn't enough, Khamzat was not actually able to make weight for this fight. And apparently it was the UFC's fight doctor who made the call, but Khamzat probably didn't help himself by flipping everybody off when he missed on the scales by 8.5 pounds.
Chechen, motherfucker, shut up, guys. I'll fuck you boy up, I fucking backstage as well.
So as a result of this fiasco, the UFC switched up his matchup to Kevin Holland while Diaz fought Tony Ferguson. Kevin Holland was going to fight D-Rod at 180, so they were a little closer in weight to where he missed. So yeah, this was one of the most chaotic fight weeks I've ever seen, and while Khamzat looked spectacular against Holland, it was the first time the fan base had really started to, frankly, turn on Khamzat. The boos throughout the entire event are enough to demonstrate that.
Gotta go for everybody. I can't run right here. Let's come down.
And to add another layer here, Dana White had begun insisting Khamzat should move up to 185 since he missed so badly against Diaz. So all that work at welterweight was pretty much scratched, and he had to start over at middleweight where he had just one win in the UFC against an unranked guy. A pretty far cry from having a win over Burns, as highly ranked as he was. And yeah, for the next year, there wouldn't really be any movement for him, and this is where the plot really thickens. Khamzat Chimaev just so happens to be from Chechnya, which if you don't know is the neighboring republic to Dagestan, where Khabib and Islam are from. Both Chechnya and Dagestan are part of Russia. There's an incredibly complex history between Russia and both of these republics that manifested into many, many wars over the centuries, and one of the worst of these conflicts took place in the 1990s while Khamzat was still living there. It was just after the fall of the Soviet Union, and Chechnya saw this as an opportunity to secede from Russia. Russia didn't like that very much and decided to invade.
People never see the war and don't grow up there. They think like, yeah, it's normal when you see on TV, like movie, you know. But when you're there,
doesn't want to be there. It was everywhere, military, like come to your house and check your house and everything. I don't know why it happened, these big things that kill people, and why we can't live like normal.
That's the reason his family left the Republic, because of all the turmoil and devastation involved, and that's how he ended up in Sweden. Since then, the Kadyrov family has emerged on top and managed to get control of the region while also restoring ties to Putin and, of course, Russia in the process. Akhmat Kadyrov was the one who made this all happen and would be assassinated by competing factions in the country after becoming president because they still wanted to be independent from Russia and they saw it as a betrayal. So it was his son Ramzan who took over in his wake. It's an absolutely wild story that I think is way beyond the scope of this channel to expand upon further than that, but it's incredibly important to realize that while Khamzat had left due to the hell of war in the 90s, by the mid-2000s, order had begun to be re-established there. And it just so happened that Ramzan is a massive sportsman who began to become incredibly invested in the sport of MMA. He began his own gym, his own promotion, and has since merged with ACB to become ACA, which stands for Absolute Championship Akhmat, naturally named after his late father, and it's become by far the biggest promotion in Russia. So by the time Chimaev's career emerged in 2020, Kadyrov was thrilled to have him representing Chechnya by way of Sweden, and he quickly began connecting with Chimaev and showering him with huge, massive, extravagant gifts.
And if you compare the life of an Akhmat MMA professional fighter, certainly those in the top tier, to the kinds of lifestyles that most American pro MMA fighters have to eke out, there's no side-by-side comparison possible. Kadyrov gives them a salary. Kadyrov pays for all their travel and training. Kadyrov makes sure that they want for nothing. When they win, he gives them cars and houses, and not just any cars either, $100,000 Mercedes AMG.
So you might be asking yourself, why is all of this relevant? Well, Kadyrov is an extremely controversial public figure. Plenty of human rights violations. And guys, it's as simple as this. He's been called out for human rights violations by many watch groups. The US has officially sanctioned him for these alleged crimes in 2020. And because of all that, his association with Kadyrov is what is creating problems for Chimaev. And in fact, I'll actually read it to you. This is the official wording that the Department of State in the United States used on their website. Quote, "This designation is due to Kadyrov's involvement in gross violations of human rights in the Chechen Republic. The department has extensive credible information that Kadyrov is responsible for numerous gross violations of human rights dating back more than a decade, including torture and extrajudicial killings." So, yeah, it's been widely reported this is one of the larger reasons Khamzat Chimaev has been unable to get a fight booked inside of the US. The failed booking with Paulo Costa was in Abu Dhabi, and of course the replacement fight with Usman took place there too. Of course, this fight with Whitaker was supposed to happen outside of the US in Saudi Arabia. Kareem Zidane reported with Sports Politica that multiple sources have confirmed his issues with UFC at the moment are directly due to his ties with Kadyrov and trying to get a visa into the United States. Obviously, that's where most of the fights happen, so there's the issue. The point is, it's believed this is the reason Khamzat has sought citizenship elsewhere like Abu Dhabi in the hopes of being able to obtain US visas in the future to get booked in more fights. So it's basically a super fucked situation, and I think it's important to note that Khamzat doesn't really have a lot of power to say no to Kadyrov, considering his family is from Chechnya, and if you disrespect a guy like that by spurning his gifts and extravagant gestures, the consequences could be severe, to put it mildly, and not just for him, his entire family. So I'm certainly not making any judgments on him here, but pair all those visa issues with Khamzat becoming violently ill, which ruined his opportunity for what was likely a #1 contender fight against Robert Whitaker. Well, perhaps you can see why I would consider this the most deflated career in UFC history. And this isn't even the first time he's gotten really sick this year. There's just so much going wrong here, and all the hype is being kind of let out. It's the speed of his ascension into stardom in the sport that was so incredibly fast, but it's as if a flat tire, or even a few of them, have plagued his ability to regain momentum since 2020 or 2021. Just think about it. Many fans have already pointed this out. In less time, Alex Pereira has become champion in 2 different divisions and become a true superstar, and a reliable one at that. That could be Khamzat at welterweight and middleweight. Can you imagine if Aliskerov won last night? He could have actually lapped past Khamzat in a much shorter amount of time. Now Whitaker gets that opportunity.
You'd be more than willing to be a backup for that championship fight there?
Yeah, definitely. You know, I exited this Hardy, and it's in my home country. How can I say no? It's around the corner.
I have no idea what the next few years hold in store for one of the UFC's brightest stars. No one could have predicted we'd be here, especially after the Burns fight 2 years ago, but needless to say, I think we all hope something will change soon. That's it for me, guys. I'm going to keep it super brief. I'll catch you guys on the next video. You all have a great day.